that around the age of 6 or 7, I started to take really, really long walks around the neighborhood. And I can't believe it was that early. I mean, when I remember, I don't remember being that young. However, I do remember that I kept thinking about some kids. It's a strange visual memory. I was by this tree around the corner from our house on one of these walks, and I was thinking to myself that some kid who was 10 was like really, really old. Like, that's really big. That's a big kid. So I must have been several years below them. Because I can't imagine even that I would be thinking this sort of, thinking that they were, particularly big if I were 9 or 8. So anyway, I would go on these really long walks, and I would call them walk-arounds. And I would say to my mom, in the afternoon, I'd come home from school or whatever, and I'd say, I'm going to go for a walk around. And our neighborhood was relatively safe. I grew up in this like very kind of quaint little condo complex. So I would go around, and I had all of these. It was very methodical, very habitual. I had like very specific routes to go on, and then I had little kind of milestones along the way where, for example, there was a hibiscus bush on the side of the sidewalk that came right up to the edge at a particular point in my walk, and there was a very specific branch inside the bush that was long enough so if I reached in and pulled it down like this, the branch sort of came all the way over, like, and crossed my path. And this to me was the way to like open the secret gate. There was an invisible secret gate, and the hibiscus bush was like the entryway point. So I'd pull this big thing and then go through. There was also a staircase on the side of one of these condos that sort of went down a hill to the park, and it was shaded with sycamore trees, so the cement of the stairwell grew a lot of moss, and it had this incredibly kind of like, even when I think about it now, and I've been back since, being older, it has this very ethereal, almost like jungly or magical forest feel. I mean, it had these big ferns on the side, and then this just like grove of sycamore leaves. And then all of the cement was covered with moss. So this great thing. So this stairwell came right after the hibiscus bush gateway. So I would like go through the gate and go, and I would just like sit on the stairwell. And then below the stairwell was this odd sort of, I guess it's like a water meter thing, like a big cement block that had a grate, like a corrugated metal, like a manhole cover kind of thing. That was sort of on the side, back in this thicket of pine. However, what was weird about this thing is like, so you had this like big grate, this big cement, block thing. And then around it was like this little wall that had been built, like a cinder block wall. But the way that it looked was like a big throne, like a chair. Like you had this cement, big flat part, and then this wall behind it. And the furthest wall was taller than the side walls, so it kind of looked like a big chair. And I remember when I first saw it, I thought, oh, I want to sit in there. But it was all gross, I mean, I tried to, and it was like spiderwebby and pine needles and stuff. So I never did, but I would just kind of go by there and think that some kind of, some kind of being that I didn't know about, I couldn't see. They lived in another dimension. They lived in there. They sat in that cement.